Hey guys, this is Indy. It occurred to me that there are some even better talent options for Paladins that I didn't cover in the complete guide, so I'm going to make an updated live version of the Holy Paladin talents and glyphs. Let's get started. First things first, a lot of things have not changed from when I released the complete Paladin guide, so I'm going to leave an annotation link to it right over my Pally's cute little head if you want to go check that out. If not, you can find the link to it in the description. Now guys, the talents that I did cover and didn't change from the complete guide, I'm going to cover really fast. If you want to hear them more in depth, click on the description link to the complete Holy Paladin guide where I go in depth. But right now I'm just going to breeze over them and cover in depth the things that I didn't cover in that guide. So for level 15, you're going to want to take the Speed of Light talent, because it's an on-demand sprint which is useful to run from CC or to get back to a fight after a bad fear path. For the level 30 talent tier, 90% of the time you're going to want to go Fist of Justice. This is because of dot spread, breaking, repentance, and blinding light. Also, Paladins love to play with Hunters, and unless you run double Paladin, the Hunter will not have a Hodge to trap off of every 30 seconds. So running Hodge makes the CC chain just as OP as Red Hunter. For level 45, I feel Sacred Shield is the most overpowered due to the fact that the enabler buff for the shield proc is undispellable, and it's really important when you get CC'd that you have to have something on your team to help them live throughout your CC, and Eternal Flame can be dispelled, the hot, and even though with the Eternal Flame buff, due to the fact that dispels are so important in Warlords of Draenor, I feel Sacred Shield not being able to be dispelled is going to be a lot more important. Most of the time you should take Clemency in the level 60 tier, unless you're fighting some really heavy dot cleaves with no CC other than Fear or maybe a stun. Clemency gives you 2 hand abilities, so this means 2 Hand of Sacrifices, 2 Hand of Protections, and 2 Hand of Freedoms. This is really important for Paladins. The only time I would take Hand of Purity is if you're fighting a Shadow Cleave or Shadow Play, due to the fact that there's no polymorph effects to sacrifice, so the 80% dot damage reduction on a 30-second cooldown is much more preferred in that case. At level 75's talent tier, you really should be taking Sanctified Wrath. I'm going to go in depth and explain this one once I get to the glyphs. Level 90's talent tier really only has one good option for Holy Pallies in Arena, and that's Holy Prism. Holy Prism is a 20-second cooldown, really strong heal, and it's an instant cast and costs little to no mana. This is a really good option because Paladins don't have any instant casts as it is besides Holy Shock. For the level 100 talent tier, most of the time I recommend taking Saved by the Light because it's essentially a really strong cheat death or a really strong angelic bulwark for your beacon target as well as for yourself. The only time I would recommend taking something else is against very dot heavy cleaves. I would take Beacon of Faith because it allows you to have 2 Beacon of Lights, and that helps healing spread pressure if you're fighting a Shadow Play or a Shadow Cleave or something along those lines. Next up is the glyphs. I'm only going to be covering the major glyphs because the minor glyphs don't really matter in combat. As per the glyphs, there are 2 mandatory glyphs that you should take. The first one is the Glyph of Flash of Light. It makes it so that when you flash heal a target, it increases the healing done by the next heal to that target by 10%. Flash of Heal is your primary heal, so this is really just too good to pass up. Now before we go into the second glyph, I removed the Sanctified Wrath talent, and Avenging Wrath, untalented and unglyphed, is a 3-minute cooldown, increases the healing done by 100%, and increases haste and crit strike chance by 20% for 20 seconds. Now when you take Sanctified Wrath, what it does is, it makes Avenging Wrath last 50% longer, and it reduces the cooldown on Holy Shock by 50%, as well as increasing the crit strike chance by 20% on Holy Shock. So now Avenging Wrath is still a 3-minute cooldown, 100% healing increase, 20% increase on haste and crit, however it lasts for 30 seconds instead of 20, and the cooldown on Holy Shock is reduced from 5 seconds if you have haste, down to about 2.53 seconds. Now the second mandatory glyph that you should take is Merciful Wrath. Now Merciful Wrath reduces the cooldown and effect of Avenging Wrath by 50%, so that means that the healing increase is reduced from 100 to 50%, and the haste and crit chance is reduced to 10% instead of 20. However, instead of a 3-minute cooldown, it's now a 1.5-minute cooldown, which means that if it lasts for 30 seconds, by the time Avenging Wrath is over, you only have a minute cooldown on Avenging Wrath left until it's up again. Now, within this minute, you can spread your cooldowns of Hand of Freedom, Hand of Protection, Hand of Sacrifice, and your Trinket. So, by the time Avenging Wrath is up, you'll be okay to heal your team again. This Avenging Wrath talent and glyph makes Paladins really awesome in Arena for longevity because they're able to stand really long arena matches and able to heal constant pressure. The third glyph slot is going to change really depending on the comp that you're up against. If you're fighting a melee cleave or something with a lot of physical damage, you may want to take the Glyph of Divine Protection, because instead of a 40% magic reduction on damage, it changes Divine Protection to be a 20% magic reduction and a 20% physical damage reduction. Another glyph that you can take is the Glyph of Hand of Freedom, and what it does is it really just helps your team out with CC because it reduces the duration of loss of control effects on your character by 25%. A third option that you may consider taking is the Glyph of Divine Shield. Now, removing harmful effects with your Divine Shield heals you for 7% for each effect removed. This is really awesome if you got a team that you know is going to train you, and the team also has a Mass Dispel. So if you bubble and the Mass Dispel takes the bubble off instantly, you still get healed, so you're not completely screwed. I hope that this was helpful, guys. If you enjoyed, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Drop a comment to let me know what you want to see in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Much love. This is Indy.
Step into the arena this holiday season and battle for a chance to win fame and fortune in the Good Gaming $10,000 Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft Amateur Open. Get a limited silver membership for just $5 and reserve your seat in an epic online tournament for gamers of all skill levels. Go to goodgaming.com and sign up to become a member. Qualifying rounds start December 19th, 2014, and tournament finals are held December 21st. Win your share of $10,000 in cash and prizes. What are you waiting for? Become a Good Gaming member today. Good Gaming. Revolutionize your game.